Another exciting edition of 2 Minute Black and White on a Sunday, smitten with shootings. We're still getting information from the Brown University shooting, as well as the information is happening, developing as we speak down in Australia, where a Hanukkah event was attacked by two gunmen said to be father and son. Pretty sad stuff. Let's check in with Brock and Ellis in the beautiful confines of the Upper Hudson River Valley. Brock, um, it's another school shooting. The saddest part of beyond the loss of life at Brown University is the fact that there are two students there that have been in school shootings before. Like how do guns have more rights than our children? Our children don't even have the right to go to school and be safe. And it's all about the money.
I think it's mostly about the money. I think it's all about the MAGA, right? MAGA wants to be armed, you know.
True that.
So I think that's, to me, gun rights now have just been bundled into part of the Project 2025 white supremacy movement. And it's not even its own, category of policy anymore. It's a part of the big, broader MAGA policy. They want to be armed, might versus right. And, we're going to have to unseat MAGA to get gun control restrictions in place, but it's doable and it should be on the list of top policies that Democrats are going to push and enact once they get back into power.
Right.
Because the whole you're afraid of the NRA, it's not even doesn't even come into play, right? Like I mean,
Right.
every Dem's going against a MAGA candidate, and gun rights is just a line item on their MAGA policies, right?
Right.
So fuck them. But yeah, I guess the statistics were going to come around to people being in multiple shootings, right? When there's so many of them. And it does appear that a lot more of the recent school shootings have been on universities. There have been a lot of university campus shootings, which kind of makes sense. People are older, easier access to firearms because they're above 18, that
Yep.
that there would be more shootings. It's always sad, but America's not, we don't even talk about gun control after shootings anymore. Like
No.
it's like everybody
No.
knows. There's not even thoughts and prayers anymore. There's a bunch of shrugging of the shoulders, like okay, we're not doing anything about this. This is part of
Right.
American life, and we've accepted it. And this is going to keep happening until we change policies. And since that's not anything on the table right now, it's like, oh, it's too bad. Sad,
Yeah.
sad, but true
But
fact of American
right.
life.
Right. The president coming out, bungling his response, first lady with, words of support. I don't even know why they bother. No one takes them as sincere. It's sad when you can't even look to your president, and his moral compass. I mean, it's
Well,
just a
in Iowa, he gave us kind of like a shit happens. Like I didn't even hear his comments on this one. Like what was his comment this time? Um,
good school, great
yeah,
school. What an idiot.
blue state, and then he shrugged his shoulders and didn't give a shit.
What an idiot. What an idiot. So the death toll rises to 15 at the Hanukkah event on Bondi Beach in Australia. Brock, I have never understood anti Semitism. And, I wish I could find someone who could explain, why it's all of a sudden on the rise again, right? It's not like it never stops. It never stops.
Yeah, it. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain a little bit of it. Right.
Okay.
Well, first of all, religions have been fighting with each other since
At the beginning
somebody
of time.
came up with the whole idea of religion, right? I mean, the
Right.
Inquisition, you got Catholics and Protestants, you have fought to the death, right? Jews and Muslims been fighting for ages. So, I mean, religion itself is a violent construct for some reason, right? We could do whole shows on this. I don't get it. If there's a God, why does he want there to be so much violence in this quote
Right.
world that he's created? So it just doesn't make sense. Anti-Semitism, don't, where did it start? It starts with religious hatred, but in other, all societies are looking for others, right? So in Europe and in, Nazi Germany, Jews were easy others. Jews have been, you know, involved in finance. They've had money, been good with money, whatever, you want to say. So there's been a sense that Jews are behind the scenes, um, manipulating and, dictating the action that they're, whenever there's like secret cabals and Illuminati and this and that, there's always a sense that Jews are behind pulling strings. Therefore, anyone who's aggrieved have made Jews, a target to go after. Look, in the short term, and this is not a popular, why is anti-Semitism back on the rise? Because Trump's anti-Semitic, and he's unleashed the hounds in America, which has helped unleash the hounds globally.
Yep.
Having said that, Israel and Jews have a problem because, like America, they have a leader of the state of Israel who's a fucking lunatic
Right.
and a violent lunatic that's
Right.
killed a lot of people and has alienated a lot of people and stoked a lot of anger. And he's turned, Jews from victim to aggressors. And I think that has also unleashed additional hate because right now, Israel, which is the Jewish state, so therefore, in essence, maybe the global leader of Judaism, which is Netanyahu, he's a piece of shit. So he's doing to Israel what Trump's doing to America.
Yeah.
And would you be surprised if Americans got gunned down in Europe or overseas?
No.
I wouldn't. I would
Nope.
expect there to be increased violence against Americans globally. I think Americans are less safe out
Yep.
there in the world.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Jews are definitively less safe out there in the world. And I've been having this argument with Jewish friends for the last several years about Netanyahu. It's like you
Right.
cannot support him. He's taken Israel in the wrong direction. He's whether you want to put him as a war criminal, there's no doubt that there was too many bombings in Gaza, and that just stoked more hate. Is that the reason there was a shooting in Australia? No. I mean, Jews
Right.
have been targeted since I've been alive and centuries before me. So, it's certainly bigger than Netanyahu, but he's not helping the case. And we
Absolutely.
live in a violent world that is getting more and more violent, as you said yesterday.
Yeah. It really is. Uh, here in Georgia, you don't flip people off on the highway because you just assume they're packing heat, strapped, whatever the colloquialism is. I mean, everybody is packing around here. You got gun shops everywhere, billboards for gun shows everywhere. You just assume that somebody's got a gun, and who knows if they're ready to use it. But you sure shouldn't want to find out. I know I don't want to find out, so I just keep my middle finger to myself. Because something as simple as that, we've seen road rage incidents here in Georgia.
Yeah, it
As
doesn't even
simple
have
as
to be the
that.
finger, right? You could just make the mistake and
Yeah,
by chance cut somebody off and it could trigger them. But look,
who's having
we
a
have
bad
ICE
day?
running around the country, which is basically state sanctioned violence, right? And we're watching it all the time. So we have state sanctioned violence going on across the country. That just ups the ante of the amount of violence that's going on in America.
Sure
So
enough.
we have more violence here and there's more wars going on in the world now.
Yep.
We got
Yeah.
Russia and Ukraine. We're now talking about, we're bombing boats in the Caribbean and threatening Venezuela. Like there's
Right.
just violence it's a particularly violent world right now because there's no cooler heads that prevail. There's a lot of shitty leaders of important countries right now. And we're at the front of that list.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. We are. Definitely at the top of that list. All right, let's get into some of these quick hits you said you have for me.
Well, okay, I got a couple of things. Number one, do you see what's going on with measles in South Carolina?
Yeah, I did see that.
I mean, we have a
It's
legitimate measles outbreak
no doubt.
in South Carolina. So this is the second in 2 years, right? One in Texas and now one in South Carolina. Red
Yeah.
states, no surprise, because you got more anti-vaxxers. It's pretty much almost all families that didn't vaccinate their kids is where it started. And they haven't been able to bottle it up yet, right? This is just another place where we've chosen as a country by putting a fucking lunatic in charge of our healthcare, right?
Yep.
In RFK Jr., we've chosen to have
Oh,
worse health nationally and much higher risk for all of us by unleashing diseases that had been put to bed for decades.
yep. And Brock, there was a state epidemiologist that said the ongoing transmission will continue for many weeks to come. You know, like how is this a good thing? How are we praising this? How are we excited about this? I
How's it
don't
even
get it.
being explained by like
Right,
RFK Jr.?
right.
What's the explanation, right? We won't get one. I
No,
mean, we just got a ton of people quarantined and, whatever. They're just taken out of society for a period of time. But hey,
right.
that's probably a best case scenario, what that doctor said, right? It's certainly not going to be put to bed, sooner. So I just find that just once again incredible. A second measles outbreak in 2 years, and the red states, they don't connect the dots,
At
right?
all.
All these families that have kids with measles, they don't realize that they were just played for fools
Fools.
and
Yep.
have now endangered and put their families at risk, but yet they're still waving Trump and MAGA flags and
Left
just
and right.
happy and feel safer because, quote, the border's being shut down and brown people are being thrown into vans and detention centers. They feel safer, yet, of course, they're not, because now they're getting diseases that we didn't talk about in our entire lifetimes. So,
Yep. Oh, by the
you
way,
know,
Spartanburg County, about 50, 60 miles north of me. Not far
oh,
at all.
that Georgia border ain't gonna block anything, right?
Didn't know. All right, what else you got?
Did you see Trump try to flip the coin at the Army Navy game?
Maybe he doesn't know how that thing works.
I mean, he's
That's a,
so fucking old and
that's a,
decrepit and lost to think that that's the strong man leader of a movement is really embarrassing. And I just, once again, I don't know how MAGA world watches that teetering buffoon walk out on the field and say that's
that's
my
our
guy.
guy.
That's the person making America great again. So he can't even toss a coin. And meanwhile, Europe's woken up to the fact that they can't trust us at all. And realization has finally sunk in that basically they are on their own and America's not an ally.
Right.
Um, and we have a guy who can't even toss a coin. And that's the leader, the supposed or the ex leader of the free world. Because Europe basically now is, in essence, acknowledged America's not the leader of the free world anymore. There is no leader of the free world, or they're going to have to become the leader and step
Right.
up and take that leadership role. And we have a guy who can't even flip a coin. That's the commander in chief. That's the guy with the nuclear codes.
Right. Well, that's the problem too. I mean, the nuclear codes, the fact that this doddering old fool, can't get out of his own way, and he's just a sociopath. Um, you know, that's the long and short of it. And again, MAGA should be just ashamed of themselves. He throws the thing up in the air. It doesn't even flip. Like, if I'm the guys from Army and Navy, I'm like, yeah, look, can we get somebody else to flip this thing? Because this guy can't fucking do it. This guy just can't do it.
Yeah, it's a
joke.
metaphor. They're probably thinking, can we get somebody else to be commander in chief? I mean, because this fucking guy, like, literally can't even do the simplest act in the entire football game.
Right. The easiest thing at a football game to do.
He has one fucking
You really
job.
can't hold the
One
chains.
job. One job. He couldn't do it. One
Couldn't
job. He
do it.
couldn't do it. Speaking of coins, have you seen the reversal of the Biden decision to have some commemorative coins come out that honored some Black history and also honored women's suffrage? And those coins have been scrapped in a move defined by shitty media very often as anti DEI.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Not surprised by that.
But what got me about the headline was like anti DEI
Right.
is just racism, right? They've
Period.
flipped the term. DEI, right, was
Right.
considered being woke. So
Woke.
anything
Right.
now that's anti woke, anti DEI, which then has become anti woke. So anything that's anti woke, in the end, is just
It's racist.
racist, xenophobic, sexist,
Right.
homophobic, right? Because
Right.
anything that goes in those categories that in any way promotes progress beyond the 1830s in any of those categories is considered to be woke. So we've actually allowed MAGA to flip that word and now give themselves a new euphemism for racism where they can be like, oh, I'm not racist, but like, you know, can't have all this woke stuff going on.
Exactly.
All the way down to the commemorative coins.
Yeah. It's a joke. And they even scrapped what they do, scrap MLK Day and
Oh,
Juneteenth as free entrance to National Parks Day. And they're adding Trump's birthday and I don't know what else, some other white history marker, um, to the calendar. But let's get rid of the brown people's birthdays and any day that they celebrate as, free entrance to the national parks because that's anti DEI. It's such a joke. And then they'll sit there and tell you to the blue in the face that they're not racist. Trump's not racist. All right.
and they're
Whatever.
trying to even extend it out to women, right? And the reason why
Right.
all these things matter is because when you erase the history, right, and you erase the achievements, and you erase the success, and you erase the excellence, then you diminish the people. And once you've diminished the people, then you can take their rights, and then you can even go so far as to treat them subhuman, right? And
Right.
that's the playbook, right? And that's like the Nazi playbook, getting back to what they did to the Jews in the 30s, is you start, lessening accomplishments, contributions, history, you wipe it away, and then you flip it and use terminology like vermin and whatever. So, like, they're playing the same game with women because there's a lot of MAGAs talking about taking away women's voting rights. We
Yeah.
know they're trying to get all black and brown people off the voting rolls, right? So, like, that game's been going on for a while, and they're,
And
repealing acts. So that's why these little things matter. And we can't, we can kind of maybe kind of laugh at them in a sarcastic, laughing way, but they add up to matter to building a white. These are building blocks of a white supremacy movement.
right, right. And Brock, if you caught any of the Army Navy game yesterday when they showed the Army and Navy cadets up in the stands, there are a lot of women on both sides, at both the Naval Academy and both West Point. So these are some of the finest students in America, Brock.
I know.
These are some of the best minds in America. And this doddering fool is in charge of their fate. almost literally, right? And Pete Hegseth,
Exactly.
right? These are the clowns that we are wasting so much talent on. Not to mention the guys involved in the game. Some of the most competitive people you'll ever see. That was a great game yesterday. What was it, 17-16, I
I
think,
didn't
was the
see it,
final
but it was
score?
like a fourth down. Navy won it on a fourth down, something.
Yeah. A great finish. And it's all going to waste because, you know, we've got this hateful regime in place and can't get them out of there.
Yeah, horrendous leadership, right? If you go National Guard, you might get deployed domestically and have to, like, in essence, be going to war with your own citizens. And if you're deployed internationally, you might be out in the Caribbean, bombing fishermen's boats, and being told to drop a second bomb on two guys that are grasping to the a piece of wood trying to stay alive. That's what we're asking our military to do. And when they come back, I mean, the VA is going to what, cut like 40,000 jobs. And when you get home, you're going to get treated like shit.
Right. Right.
I
Which
mean,
is
it's really an embarrassment how the entire life cycle of our armed forces right now, and it's so by far the worst leadership we've ever had, and yet we're just trying to we're going to hold our breath for 3+ more years with Trump in charge of the greatest fighting force in the history of the world, and the destructive power that goes behind it.
yeah.
There's no
We're
fucking
gonna
way we can last 3 years
we're
with
gonna
him as the.
we are going
That was crazy. Okay. I got two more for you. Just seeing if your head. I was curious where your head's at on certain topics.
all
Let's
right.
start with
Hit
this
me.
one. Philip Rivers.
You know what?
For our
Uh,
viewers who maybe aren't aware, 45-year-old ex-NFL
grandfather.
quarterback, been out of the league for roughly 5 years, has like 10 kids, by the way, as an aside. I guess one of his kids has already had a kid, so he's a grandfather.
And daddy.
The Colts quarterback tears his Achilles. They feel like they're in a pinch, and they call Philip Rivers out of multi-year retirement to play
Sure.
today.
Sure. But Colin Kaepernick is 7 years younger. Nobody called him. We've got guys in the league. I saw Kenny Pickett playing for the Raiders today. Nobody called Colin Kaepernick. Teams have quarterback woes up and down the map, right? I don't care what division you look at, I don't care what team you look at. Because of the salary cap situation, it's hard to have two really good quarterbacks,
Yeah.
right? So on almost all the teams, the secondary guy, the backup, is garbage, hot garbage. I mean, Riley Leonard was the guy that Philip Rivers succeeded.
So-
Who's not bad, but he's
So my
not
take,
ready.
as soon as I heard Rivers coming up, I was like, I remember with Kaepernick when he was just like maybe 2 years out of the league.
Yeah,
At age like 34, 33, the comments were like, oh, well, he hasn't played in a couple years. The speed of the game, so many changes. He couldn't keep up with it. The longer he's out, the harder it'd be for him to come back. Once you're out, you're not in. And, really, it's impossible for him to be able to come back into the league. Too much
right.
change. You don't have the reps. You can't just step back in. Philip Rivers, age fucking 45,
Throwing touchdowns today.
back in 1 week of practice, and they're betting the franchise on him, right? And that's a playoff team. And look, he may play pretty well. I mean, I'm sure until he gets hit, right?
Well,
And by the way, unless I'm mistaken, and Philip Rivers, good NFL quarterback, never went to a Super Bowl. He's not a Super Bowl quarterback like Colin Kaepernick. He never led his team to a Super Bowl.
Nope. Nope.
So NFL hypocrisy, NFL racism, right on stage.
Right.
Only a white guy could overcome the 5 years off and being 45 years old to come back to try to lead a team that's on the brink of the playoffs. I just found the whole thing comical, and the commentators once again twisting themselves into pretzels, trying to justify why this move could work, but why 6, 7 years ago they said as soon as Kaepernick missed 2 weeks of action, he was obsolete and
Done.
had cobwebs
Done.
and could never shake them off.
Right. Right. I'll take my money on a sprint, a 40-yard sprint between Rivers and Kaepernick. I'm timing Rivers with a sundial, okay? 'Cause it's going to take a while. But I'll take Kaepernick any day. And might I refer you to Colin Kaepernick's Netflix special and what this kid has gone through, this young man has gone through his entire life, raised by a white family, right? Who didn't even know how to get him the proper hair care, right? His mother had to ask some of her black colleagues at work what to do with his hair. That's only a part of the story.
And
It's
his
it's
big,
an
yeah.
interesting watch.
And his big crime was to kneel during the anthem in a protest against police violence against black people as we all sat around and watched young black men get gunned down left and right on
Yep.
video all over the country. And
Yep.
actually, it's declined, and he had an impact. He made a change. It took a while, but actually, there's been a major decline in gun violence deaths from police officers on young black men in particular.
Yep.
And now when we look at MAGA, where we are today with MAGA, like he was just fucking right on the whole direction of
Yep.
the way the country was going. Actually, I really would like to see him step into the political arena. I think he's one of the great civil rights leaders of our time. And the Philip Rivers thing today just reminded me, I wish he had gotten another chance, but the NFL's too racist.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't think we'll ever see it happen because I think he's handcuffed by whatever deal he made with the NFL. Because he had such an incredible platform that they must have given him so much money that he said, "Okay, I'll sign it."
Well, hopefully at some point he uncuffs himself of that, and that kind of the movement becomes bigger than the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all the money in the world ain't going to protect him if we're in a white supremacy society.
Well,
So,
exactly.
as
Exactly.
Jews in 1930 Germany learned, didn't matter how much
Right.
money you had.
Right.
So, it's something to think about. Last one from me. Stories I'm tired of hearing about. Tired of hearing about whether Usha Vance is wearing her wedding ring or not. And I do not care if Usha and JD Vance are having problems in the marriage. And if she fucking has an ounce of dignity, she should have problems in the marriage. He is a wannabe leader of a white supremacy movement. She's a person of color. Her kids are of color. And her husband is looking to lead a white supremacy movement that would have her and her ilk thrown in the back of vans and into detention centers. And I just find it kind of comical. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. I don't
At all.
know why an Indian woman married JD Vance, a racist. So I don't. It just this is the card table you decided to sit down at.
Right.
Play the hand you're dealt or don't. But I don't know. What are your
Right.
thoughts on it?
It's always been ridiculous to me when I first saw Usha Vance. I said, "How did this happen?" I was one of those people stupid enough to pick up, Hillbilly Elegy and watch the movie, and think that this guy was telling the truth. Come to find out that it was all fabricated. But nobody's pulling the money back. Netflix isn't getting the money back. I wonder if Random House or whoever published his book is getting the money back. But, he pulled one over on us. I caught a Today Show interview, years ago. Back, this must have been 14, 15. And, so I said, okay, let me figure out what this whole, white male grievance thing is all about. I was living in Ohio at the time, Cincinnati, where it was, you know, really being talked about in the Rust Belt there. Northern Kentucky. You had the opioid crisis, and the white male grievance. And I said, okay, well, let me figure out what this is all about, right? And this is right before the MAGA movement took off. And when I saw that she was attached to him, I was like, wow, this makes absolutely no sense. Um, it's almost like an act of self-loathing. I have a very good Indian American friend and family that I talk to regularly, and they can't make heads or tails of it. And it's like, how do you even have a conversation about anything to do with race or ethnicity with this man? With the things that he's saying. I mean, because he's a rubber stamp for Trump. All he does is echo Trump's comments. So how do you look yourself in the mirror? How do you look at your children, Usha Vance, and say, "Daddy loves you"? Daddy loves you as long as you're not interfering with his political gains.
Yeah, but he'll say that you're eating the cats and dogs if it behooves him, if he thinks it's in
Yeah.
his best interest. So yeah, the flip side of the coin is I think JD Vance has figured out that he's gotta basically dump Usha if he ever wants to be president, that he can't bring her along on a presidential run, which obviously he's planning on thinking about and the like, because MAGA just ain't there for the color.
Nah, at all. At all. So, we'll have to see what ends up happening.
It's a we'll
Because that
see, but
Erica Kirk,
I'm sorry, but this will be the last time, I promise, that I bring it up. I just wanted to bring it up once, check the box, and say I'm tired of hearing about it.
keep it moving. Yeah, man. So, my quick hit is going to be really quick. I'm just, really concerned about the the charges that Sharon Moore is facing up at Michigan. I thought it was very interesting, that here's a guy obviously with some mental instability issues going on. They charge him with stalking and home invasion at his lover's home and hold him. I don't know if they had him on a mental health hold or what, but he was held for 3 or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. So I haven't seen anything on it today, but so many people were so quick to go to race on this story. First of all, Sharon Moore was already married to a white woman. So why are we surprised that he has a white girlfriend, right? Second of all, isn't mental health the bigger issue here? This man is clearly unstable.
Yeah, apparently he was threatening to kill himself with like
Yes,
scissors or something.
yes,
Stalking seems like a reach. Home invasion is anytime you break into someone's home. So it sounds like he probably did
right,
break in, right? So,
right.
um, yeah, I do think they had him on a suicide watch. I guess he does have a mental health problem. I was going to ask you about this because, whatever, I'm just going to fucking lay it out there. Does it piss you off because it's so hard for black men to get these jobs? Because college football also so racist. I can name on one hand the black coaches of major college teams, right? I got Dion, I got the Notre Dame guy, what's his Freeman or something like
Yeah.
that. And you had
He's
Sherrod
Asian.
Moore.
He's
Moore were
he's
like the
Asian.
top three, right? What?
He became Asian when he got the job at Notre Dame. He's
Oh.
no longer an African American.
So outside of those three, maybe there's a few others floating around, but those are the three that I'm aware of. So he's one of three, and he kind of blows it. He kind of blows himself up.
But if
When
it's
he's got one of the best college football jobs in the country, and it's going to make it harder for the next black guy. Just less likely for the next black guy to get hired.
bar none. But me and some of my old teammates from Howard University had a little gathering, about 8, 9 of us last night at a friend's house, at one of our old teammates' houses here in Atlanta. And we added up the generational wealth lost by Sharon Moore, Shannon Sharpe, and Mel Tucker, all involved with white women, all losing tens of mil. Mel Tucker had an 80, if I'm not mistaken, an 80 or $90 million contract with Michigan State. He
Oh,
had
the
been
Michigan State guy. I was
buzzing.
wondering who's Mel Tucker. Oh, he's the Michigan State guy. Oh, I didn't realize Shannon Sharp was with a white woman. What when it was on when he had the sound on or something like that?
On
Or I
Instagram.
couldn't
Yeah,
follow all his stuff.
50 million he had a deal for, right? Lost his ESPN job, right? I'm sure Nightcap and Club Shay Shay are not paying him 50
Hmm.
million. You might be paying him handsomely. I'm sure it's not 50 million. And what Sharon Moore lost. So, you know, immediately my thought, when I started reading more about Sharon Moore, went to mental health. Why are we, not focusing on the mental health
Yeah.
issues here? But yes, it does make it more difficult for white folks to feel comfortable enough to hire a black man as the face of the franchise. Remember, college football teams aren't just football teams. They're the major marketing tool of the university. It's your sports programs, Kentucky basketball, right? People apply to University of Kentucky just so they can go to the basketball games, right? They apply to Duke University so
Yeah.
they can go
It's a
and be a
part of
part
the
of the Cameron
experience
Crazy.
is yeah, going to
Yes.
the game's a part of the experience. Um,
Syracuse, same
No, it's
thing.
it's big. It's huge business. I saw a headline today.
Yes.
Kentucky laid out $22 million this off season for the players they have on the court this year, and they're struggling. And that was the headline. Like they're 20. I mean, because now they're miniature pro franchises now because everyone's
Yeah.
getting paid. It's a business. It's not just recruiting. It's negotiating contracts with young kids, and you got to win games. You got to win.
We saw 23, 24, 25-year-old men not be able to manage large fortunes, right? Windfalls of cash. How do we expect 18-year-olds to do it and still perform? The male brain doesn't, permanently form until 26, 27 years old. What are we doing? Right? We're so greedy. We're just like, throw money at it, throw money at it. But yeah, getting back to the original point, like, it's all about the money, right? And Sharon Moore, Mel Tucker, Shannon Sharp, this all enables, the heads of universities and search committees and, all these people in charge, the board of trustees to say, I don't know if we can trust a black guy. What's his past look like? I don't know, but I mean, it does piss me off, But again, in this instance, we saw some mental health issues.
Yeah, yeah, it's something bigger. But yeah, it is it because to me it's like any black person in this role, almost any coaching role. It is that Jackie Robinson syndrome where you have to
Yep.
be turn the other cheek. You kind of have to be perfect, right? In terms of your demeanor. Look, Bobby Petrino was fooling around
Me
with someone.
too.
He got another job, right? Rick Pitino got fired because, partially he had a
Yeah.
whole scandal. The white coaches that have won and had scandals have tended to get another shot. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that's going to be the case with the black coaches that get the. I shouldn't say I'm not sure.
Exactly.
I'm skeptical that the black coaches will get another chance in anything even close to the level they were at. They'll
Oh,
probably have to
most
go back to
definitely.
the bottom and start
Right.
and work their way up again. See them in Division 3 or something, or Division 2 or at a
Or
JUCO
an
somewhere.
HBCU.
Yeah, maybe an HBCU.
You know, I mean, we know he has talent if he can get his mental health in order. Maybe he can be a viable coach.
Yeah.
There's no question he knew what he was doing. And you know what? Someone at the table last night said, and this is a round table of 9, 10 African American men, like I mentioned. I forget who said it, but somebody said, imagine you. No, they said, do you guys think he gets fired if he wins the Ohio State game?
They
I
might have
bet they
squashed
find
that
a
whole
way to take it
investigation.
away.
They might have
Yep,
they might have squashed it, paid her off, quieted her up, like, hey,
yep,
we're on a roll here. We've beaten them 5 years in a row. We
right.
ain't, yeah. That's the sad reality is,
Yep.
yeah, losing the game may
It
have been as
changes
important as
everything.
anything else.
Yes, sir. All right, my friend, we're
All
out
right,
of here.
Mark. Always
See
a
you tomorrow.
pleasure.
Yes,
I will
sir.
talk to you tomorrow.